What's up, Video Fort Nation? I'm Magic Bard, and for today we're going to go through some double exposure True Detective effects. They call it the True Detective effect because True Detective, the series on HBO, did a really cool opening credits scene with this idea in mind. So I'm going to show you two ways how you can do it. There's a simple way, really fast, down and dirty, nitty-gritty way to do it. I'm going to try and show you that as fast as possible, and then I'm going to go into a little more advanced, a little more effects added to it way of creating this double exposure True Detective effect. But before we get into it, I want to give a couple of shout outs to Hollywood Movies, Jaren, I know I messed that up, but I'm sorry and I love you, and D-Easy Exclusives. It's lit. Alright guys, if you guys are new to Video Fort, hit that subscribe button and hit the little bell icon right next to it, so that way whenever we put out new tutorials, which is coming out about every other day or every day, as many as I can put out, you'll be the first to see them. And with that being said, enough with me talking, let's jump into the tutorial. Alright guys, so let's start this one off. I'm going to assume that you know the basics of After Effects and editing so I can really dive through this one as fast as possible and kind of show you guys how this effect is created. So double exposure, let's jump into it. First, what we're going to do is stop this playback, and what I have is my footage of my actor and then my stock footage that I got from videofort.com. So first things first is organize your footage into bins, and then what we're going to do is create a composition. So click on that bad boy. 1920 by 1080 looks good, 24 frames per second, and duration 16 seconds. That'll be good, and we'll call this our double exposure. Enter. Okay, and then what we're going to do is add one of our actor clips. So first what I'm going to show you is kind of a quick and fast way of how to do this. So let's just drag this one into our composition and size it down. So this is a 4K clip, so I'm gonna bring it down 50%, and then what we want to do is key out the green screen. So we'll go into our effects and presets and type in key light, drop that bad boy into there, and we're gonna take this screen color eye picker tool and click on the green screen so we can start to key it out. Now whenever I do green screen, I like to go into the screen mat so I can see exactly what I'm keying out, and then I'll just drop down the screen mat and do this really quickly. So I'm going to start to clip the blacks and the whites until I get a nice solid white vignette of our actor and the whole green screen is black. So this looks good enough for me. Now next step I'm going to do is kind of zoom out here a little bit and use this pen tool to create a mask around our actor. Okay, boom. Okay, great. Now what we can do is go back to our view and put it to final result. Okay, great. Now we've got our actor all keyed out. Now probably before you do this whole keying process, what you want to do is set the in and out points for your clip. So I'm just going to double click here and fit this, and then choose the in and out points of what I want to use. So probably start it when he starts to look up. So I'm going to hit this endpoint right here, and he looks up, cool, and I'll outpoint it there. So maybe 4 seconds long. Okay, good. Go back into our composition, and that's what we've got. Let's just check out that key that we just did. Very nice, looks good. It's rough, it's quick. Just trying to get to the point of how to do this effect. So now that you've keyed out your actor, let's add in the stock footage we want to use. So I'm going to go back to our project and find the stock clip that I want to use, which is going to be this city clip right here. So I'm going to double click it, and this is stock footage that I got off of videofort.com. So if you ever need really sick aerial footage, that's where you can get it. Okay, so I'm going to set my endpoint right here and outpoint out here. And now I'm just going to drag this bad boy right under my actor layer and just kind of stretch that one out so it fits the whole clip of the actor, and I'll just change the color of it for organizational purposes. Peach. Okay, now what we want to do is go to our track matte and hit on Luma Matte. Okay, so now you can kind of start to see this effect take place. So we can see this better, go to Alpha Matte. Okay, and then you can see what it's doing is getting that cutout layer, and then what we can do is move this around and it'll stay inside of our actor Ben, right? So what I want to do is see these buildings. So I'm going to rotate this upside down. So I'm going to hit the W on my keyboard, hold down the shift button, and then just rotate this clip like that. Okay, so now I can see my buildings, it's upside down, and this is going to look pretty cool. So now what I want to do is key out this sky. So I can use a keying option known as the color key and then key out the blue, but also here, color key, and then I can add that and then key out the blue, but there is some blue on my building, so that's not really going to work as well. I'm going to use another effect called extract and drag that onto my skyscraper layer. I'm going to turn the channel to blue, and then I'm just going to start to clip this in. Okay, so I'm going to take my, put that back to 0, take my white point and drag it down until that sky kind of goes away, and now we have our cool little double exposure effect. Okay, so I'm going to bring this back to the Luma Matte. So now we can kind of see him, and let's put a background in there as well. So new layer, solid, and this kind of like white, yellow, peachy color, and drag it down to the bottom. So now we can see our Ben layer. Okay, so let's our buildings are kind of hard to see, so let's add a levels effect to that. So add a levels to your buildings, and then start to clip your blacks, and they will start to show up a little better there. Blacks and whites. Cool. Okay, good. And then now the other thing I did in the example, which is, let me show you that right here in my finished DE, double exposure, is I added a mask around Ben's head so you can see it a little better. So all you have to do is take your actor's clip, Command D, which will duplicate it, and then what we're going to do is let's show it, hit that visibility, and then we're going to create a mask around the head. So all you have to do is really select one of your masking tools. So I just selected the ellipse tool, and I'll go about maybe right here, and then resize your mask. Maybe add a bit of a feather to it, and right under your mode, let's go to intersect. Okay, so that's going to intersect it, and then turn up the feathering a bunch, a ton, even maybe 200 pixels. And then what you can do is hit T for your opacity and turn it down a bit, so we don't want it to be maybe 80%, and then we can add some curves into that. Curves, drop this down, add some contrast, maybe a little bit more, and then hue and saturation, and we'll turn down the saturation of this clip to about there. And cool, that's your rough, really fast way of creating your double exposure effect. Okay, guys? Now, if you have a clip like this buildings one that I have, and you want to see the sky, you're going to do the same thing, but just don't apply this extract effect to it, and you'll see the sky in there. Okay, so what you really want to do is really play around with different effects on this one, and you can get the specialized look that you want. So let's try something a little more advanced, which is basically the same thing but with more effects. So what we're going to do is go into our project, and I'm going to use this headshot clip. Drag that bad boy in there, and let's size them down to 50%, And let's see, so we can start it there. He looks out, we get his profile, and cool. So I'm gonna trim that down, and we're gonna do the same thing, key this bad boy out, and I'm going to fast forward this. Alright, cool. Now that you got him all keyed out, next step is to add your stock footage under him. And for this one, I'm going to use a clip from China that I've already selected the in and out points, which is this cool little helicopter shot going right over the mountain really close, and looks pretty badass. So we're going to add this one right under our actor clip. Okay, and let's stretch that out, make sure it's all trimmed together. Alright, cool. And then we're going to do the same thing. So go into your track matte and hit alpha matte just so we can kind of see it in there. And we're going to add our extract and add a levels on top of that. Levels on top of your extract, because what we want to do is really blow out this sky a bit. So we can drag our white point in and our black point in. So what this is doing is crushing your blacks and whites. Okay, maybe a little more. And then we can take our extract and turn down the white until the sky goes away. Boom, like that. Okay, cool. So now we've got this kind of mountain layer. Sweet. That looks cool by itself. So here's a couple of things you can do. Let me zoom in here so we're not overlapping our clips, and I'm gonna move this over right there. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is add a thing called a displacement map. Alright, so before we do that, I'm gonna duplicate this headshot clip, Command D, make it visible so I can see it, and add a tint. Okay, I just want to make this black and white, and then I'm gonna add a levels. Okay, come on, levels, and I want to really crush these bad boys down. And then I'm going to make a displacement map based off of this. So now I can hide the visibility, go back to our China mountain layer that I turned yellow for no specific reason. Pink, I'll go with pink. Type in displacement and add that displacement map onto your mountains or whatever your stock footage is. And what you're going to do is make sure that the displacement map layer is selecting the one where we just added that levels effect to. So this top headshot one, layer 1, right? So we'll go here, layer 1, headshot, and hit this effects and mask, and then also make sure that displacement map behavior is on stretch map to fit. Okay, now that's because I have a 4K clip that I resized down to 50%, so that's why I changed that one down. Okay, and now what that's going to do is add a little bit of displacement to the mountains layer. And let's see if we can kind of see what's going on. So if I bring it back over here, let me kind of open this up, fit it, and if I mess with this horizontal displacement, you could start to see where this displacement is happening. Okay, around his ears, eyes, chin area, neck, hat. Now that's way too much, so I'm gonna probably put this over to 8 and maybe go with 7. So it just adds a little bit to the effect. Okay, you can start to see a little bit of his eyes, and then as he moves around, you'll see, you know, his nostrils as well. It really comes out a little bit more. It's just a little bit. So on top of that, what we also want to do is close that out. Is we're going to add a rim so we can see little pieces of him. Okay. So what I'm going to do is take this headshot layer, duplicate it, Command D. Okay, and let's reveal it, and I'll take out this levels and tint for now. Okay, cool. Back to color. And we're going to duplicate it one more time, Command D. Okay, so let me just hide this. Let me call this one headshot rim matte, and then we'll call this one the headshot rim. Actually, this one is the rim matte, and this one will be the track matte. Okay, so let's close that visibility, and on this one what we're going to do is go to our view and bring it back to the screen matte, and we want to really make these edges fuzzy. So go to our screen matte, go to where it says screen softness, and turn that bad boy up a lot. So 250 is good for me. It may be a little different for you depending on if you're using a 4K clip or a 1920 by 1080. If you're doing 1920 by 1080, you'll probably be closer to 100 pixels for that. So we've got that. Now what I want to do is, with this layer selected, we're going to pre-compose it. So layer, pre-compose, and make sure it's on move all attributes. Okay, and press OK. And then let me just trim that down, and then double click it so we can open that up. And what we're going to do is create a white mask where you don't want to see your rim. Okay, so take this and let's go to, we're going to create a shape layer. So using the pen tool, make sure that this is not selected. Just create a shape around here, and we got to make sure that this is white. So go to the fill and bring it over to white, and then we also need to blur it out as well. And let me just trim this one down to the size of our clip. Go into our effects and presets, type in fast blur, and we'll add that to the shape layer and turn up the blurriness. Okay, and that's where it's going to fade out, right? So let's go back to our double exposure, and with this layer, okay, remember the second layer that we duplicated selected, our track matte layer, we're going to go to our track matte and hit Luma inverted matte. There you go. Now we can see a rim of our actor Ben. Okay, and now this is up to you depending on where you want to place this rim. I place it on the left because I know that his profile will be showing looking over here to the left. If yours is on the right, you're going to do the opposite of what we just did and bring this white solid, or this white shape layer, over to the left side. Okay, so let's go back here and see kind of what we did. So we added a displacement map, we added a little bit of a rim. Now the colors on him are too saturated, so let's kind of turn that one down. We'll go into tint, or let's go into saturation, and we're going to add that to our track matte layer. So just drag that right onto there, and then turn down the saturation just a tad to about right there. And let's add a curves effect right under our saturation, and let's darken it up. Kind of create the curve that you want. Now I don't really like the top of his hat showing right here, so in order to get rid of that, we'll go back into our composition that we created, our pre-comp, and just add our white shape where we don't want to see his hat. Okay, so that's going to be over here. And let me zoom out here, so we need to really drag this point out here when we do our fast blur. So add another fast blur to that. Alright, come on. Fast blur. Boom. Turn it up. And that should be good. Let's check it out. Okay, that's getting rid of his hat a tad. Let's do even more by dragging this guy down here, and cool, like that. Okay, now maybe another thing you want to do is show his eyes. So if you want to do that, you're going to do the opposite of white, which is black. So you're going to add a shape layer of black where his eyes would be, and then just make sure that the fill is black and add a fast blur to that. Turn that up. Okay, now this is going to be pretty harsh, so we may need to turn down the opacity. So I'll hit T, drop it down to 50, and let's kind of see what that looks like. Okay, so you start to see what we've got going on here. And I'll hit Option and bracket to close it down and trim it down there. And guys, that is how you do the double exposure effect. So a fairly simple, quick way to do it right here, and then a little more advanced, more effects added to this one with the displacement map, and then also the rim lighting that we added to this one. So, you know, with this double exposure effect, you can really have fun with it, add different effects, try different track mats, the Luma inverted matte, Luma mattes, alpha mattes, and see what fits the scene that you're creating. Alright guys, I hope that tutorial helped you out. You can create a lot of really cool things with the double exposure using the track mats and that kind of stuff. If you've never used a track map before, I hope I introduced you to something really cool. You can use that with a lot of effects. Try it out. If you enjoyed this tutorial and it helped you at all, please leave us a like and leave us a comment and let us know what visual effects you guys would like to learn, what filmmaking techniques you want to know more about, and we'll try to address those as soon as possible. Create awesome tutorials on our site, videofort.com. With that being said, I'm Magic Bard, and I'll see you guys on the next one.